GM, and welcome everyone to the 12th episode of The Hub, a Farcaster developer focused podcast here on the GM Farcaster network. GM Nounish Prof, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today, Dylan? I'm so excited to be here with you.
Awesome. Yes, no, it's great to be here with you. Thank you for taking the time. It's good to go over everything. Feels like things are slowly starting to pick up on the
Oh,
Farcaster
big time.
system. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
there's a
know if it was
lot
just
of I feel like they're just shipping, and I know they're shipping a couple big things later this week, so I know you've got the scoop. I know you got the scoop in the dev call, so I'm excited to get the alpha on
I
all of
know.
this. So, yeah, let's
It's
let's
funny.
go.
They had said on the dev call that today would be the release date for one of the things we'll
Oh.
go over later. I don't know if it actually will, but if so, that would be quite exciting and relevant to pretty much everyone on Farcaster, I would say.
So, I was supposed to be doing a test of something, and then the test didn't happen. So I'm looking right now to see if nope, still hasn't no update there. So I don't know if that's going or not, but anyway, all right, Dylan, I'm so excited. What do we got first?
Awesome. Amazing. Well, we have two really exciting. Actually, everything today is pretty exciting. We have a couple
Yeah.
really exciting pieces of news first, though. So I've been working very closely with Emma, who has been leading things for FarCon NYC. We're very happy to announce that applications are open. I will just very quickly run through everything so that there is no sort of confusion. There's not a crazy amount to go through, but so we have FarCon NYC, and we also have a Builders Day. So essentially, Thursday, we have two main days. The first day, Thursday, May 1st, is Builders Day. You could think of Builders Day as a mini dev day with
Amazing.
Anne Varun and the Merkle team, some little workshops, and then a 24-hour far hack afterwards. So that Builders Day is a little bit more kind of curated. That's like the first day, and then the Friday is the mean summit, kind of like last year. And I think a one like small little anecdote here is part of the reason we chose this was we felt that last year there were some people who maybe wanted to hack, but they were also like going to side events in the weekend, and there was some overlap that got in the way. And we felt that this year we could have one day that's like very intentional for this builder stuff and a hackathon as well. Give people space to go to the summit and give people space to go to everything they could be shaping up that weekend. So really just trying to like learn from past experiences and make sure that what we're offering on all events is like the most tailored it can be to people.
Love it. I love this. Super excited. We've been talking a lot with Emma too about what we're doing with media, and we'll be sharing that very soon on GM Farcaster. Kind of just, was waiting for everything to get going, but I think this is going to be amazing. And can I just say, last year's Far Hack was so great, the first one that you did, and it was I did, wasn't hacking. I'm not a dev, but I was able to walk around and see what people were working on, and the energy was great. And then watching the presentations of the top ones was so fun. And to have like 200 people there just like watching and finding out what people are working on and just seeing people present. And then I'm thinking back to that and thinking about where some of those folks are now, what they're building now, and it's just exciting to me, like to see like that development. So I remember Lamone and that team like presenting something. I think it was the Billboard one. And now
Yeah.
they're doing
Oh, that one
Farville,
was
and
cool.
now they're
Yeah.
doing something
Yeah.
completely different, but like it's still the same builders like who have like put so much energy into Farcaster, and I love that. It's so
Yeah.
fun.
Thank you. No, that was really great. That was such a highlight how all of that came together. And without sharing too much, I think the way that we've organized the schedule this year makes it so that that aha moment of the non-technical community being that excited about what the developers are building as well is just going to like come together even more so. Like it's definitely something that we're optimizing for. So really excited for that, and everything will be even more organized. Like we have new version of FarHack software that will work as a
Ooh,
V2 frame by then, so it will be
that's
really easy for
exciting.
developers and people to vote and stuff. So a lot of cool
Oh,
stuff.
you used a frame last year too, like early version of a frame.
Yes, yeah, horse facts
Cool.
literally.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
had, I don't, he must have started it at night, but I remember like we had a room at that venue, and it was where like all the judges were, and like shout
right.
out Jason from Moxie, who was like, he was like leading all of the judges in this room, like organizing because we had a time
I
crunch.
love it. I
Or
love it.
or building the frame, and then I go up and Jason's like, the voting's done, and Horsefax is like, the frame is done, and I'm like, no way, like it came together that quickly. But
I
hopefully it
oh
won't
my
be
god, I
that tight
love
this
that.
year,
I
but that
love the
was a
behind the
great memory.
scenes. I love the behind the
Yeah,
scenes insights,
I
like,
know.
that's so
I wish I just had a
but also,
camera going up those stairs. Like,
I think it really demonstrates the talent that we find in this ecosystem. Like, that can, like, turn around on a frame like that, and be and just kinda jump in and help, and, I just love it. I'm super excited for this. I'm super excited to be walking around and talking to the devs and the hackers and sort of see what they're working on and be that kind of, like, looking into it and reporting back to everybody so they get a little bit of that energy because you can't have everybody in that room, but so we want to be able to share that, with everybody
yeah,
else. So super
exactly.
excited. So
Yes.
excited.
Yes,
So
really
excited.
exciting. Cool. All right. Well, to close the loop on this really quickly, I'll just go over the ticket process. So if you go to MyCast or MSCast, it has both the link to this FarCon page where we talk about the tickets as well as the D form. The D form is the main place you should think about. We just have one application for everything. And on the application, you can denote, do you want to go to the summit? Do you want to go to Builders Day? Both. And then all of that information. It is quite straightforward. I would definitely say, I would like fill out the information if you want to be
Mhm.
like recognized even more that you're like a person and part of the community, but fully up to your own discretion. So really quickly, we have the Builders Day, which we are prioritizing more so like technical developers, although as Nanish Prof said, we're working on other ways to kind of share the experience with others. The event is free, but we have a 2 week $50 deposit that's 100% refundable, kind of as more of an incentive to make sure that because it is more of a limited event, like having the space with the Merkle team, especially that you're actually going to attend. And I think similarly for the summit, kind of like last year, we'll have this rolling process. At a certain point, we will send more information out, and you will know your status. And at that point, you will be able to go to somewhere for your tickets, where you will have this like soul bound NFT as your ticket for either the summit or the Builders Day. So make sure to just come to FarCon at NYC/tickets if you are confused at all on the process. We also have a pretty lengthy description on the D form. And as I said before, the D form is the one place that you need to go. We don't have separate, things. And also, the thing I'll say is please do not flood myself or Emma's direct casts. If you have any other questions, you could email. I believe it's tickets at farcon.nyc. So definitely send all your questions there. Although I'd like to think that the application form is pretty straightforward, and we're going to be as transparent as possible and also as quick as possible in terms of timelines and turning things over.
Can I just say, if you can go back to Deform really quick, I just
Oh
want to
yeah,
say their sign in with Farcaster is so good. If you
yeah,
are on the back end of it, like if you're taking applications or you have a form that you're having people fill out, it pulls so much good info and it gives you like when you pull it into a spreadsheet, it gives you like the Farcaster name, the FID, the like connected wallet, all these different things. It's super useful. So just, kudos to Deform for adding that in. It makes our lives a lot easier. And it makes your lives a lot easier because you don't have to fill in all that other stuff because it just pulls it
yeah.
straight from your sign in. So
I know
just
we
wanted to
got.
point that out. That's a great little like the sign in with Farcaster, I think is huger than we realize, and I think as we see it get implemented more, I think it's like just a really helpful tool. So Just wanted to
Yeah.
shout that out. Very weird thing to shout out, but you don't usually shout out things on a form.
Yeah.
But
No, it's a
I
good thing
think
to
they've
shout
done,
out. Yeah.
yeah, they've done a really good job with like the way they've designed these. So it's really great.
Yeah, 100%. No, I mean, it's good that like people shout things like that out when it actually serves like a real utility for them and it
Totally.
has that utility that another tool doesn't have. And I don't know of another forms tool that has Farcaster sign in and export data.
No.
So
Yeah.
kudos, and they seem to be moving pretty quick to the deform team.
Yeah. Yeah. They've been, yeah, it's really, and it's not a cheap product to use from our end, but it's worth it for things like that because it does come in super handy. So,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Cool. All right. Well, another one, they're all like
ooh,
pretty
it's
decently
huge.
sized.
It's so huge this week. It's like just
I
huge things
know.
after huge things. I knew
Yeah,
this
exciting.
today's hub was going to be really good. There's a
Nice. I
lot to
know.
talk
Good one
about.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So amazing. Yesterday, if you haven't been following, Team Warpcast has been working on Snapchain. The way you can think of Snapchain is like a social blockchain that replaces hubs and moves some of the complexity of like certain things being on hubs, certain things being on chain, certain things being on hubs, but very complicated to interact with, essentially just all moving to this blockchain like network that is more built for Farcaster and has a lot of the underlying infrastructure that you would want to scale to the amount of like messages and throughput that Farcaster wants to. And they've been working on this test net for a couple of months now. It went live yesterday at 4. I guess that's Pacific. Over 20,000 blocks have been produced with a million messages processed. I'll have to go a little bit more into what exactly they're doing right now, but it seems like they're mirroring over like hub live data to this new snap chain to see what that process would look like. And the part that I thought was very neat was saying it's hard to understate how big of a deal this is that Sanjay Dynamite, who is a DT, and Cassie researched, designed, and implemented a novel social blockchain in less than 6 months, processing real live data, which might be a new world record, which
Wow.
I think just comes to show again how cracked this Merkle team is and how many advancements they're making on all different sides of the stack, whether it's on the hub or it's performance in the network or in the app itself, like on the client side. There's a lot of really cool stuff they're doing that I bet is up there with some of the top non-crypto startups. So
Amazing.
huge props to them.
So from a user perspective, how does this like are we going to see any difference? Is this more just infra in the background that like what's the like what do you think from a user perspective we should expect from Snapchain?
Yeah, and I mean, I'll look a little more into as they gear up for a launch. The way they make it seem is that moving it over isn't really going to have a user effect. Like, hopefully, you should kind of just
Not
drop it
even
in,
see
and
it.
this, yeah, as
Okay.
long as all these tests are working. I think where we're going to see it is that it might make certain things that have been annoying in the future, like signer management or multiple different apps that aren't Warpcast, being able to connect accounts whether they were created in Warpcast or not, like all of these signer and storage operations, I think will potentially get easier because you'll essentially move all of the logic to that to this like blockchain, this snap chain essentially, instead of this system, which is like a little bit more uh like janky or all over the place because it's not an official blockchain because they have like the hub and on chain and all these different pieces together that hopefully they should be able to use more like standard primitives to make that easier. um and I remember as well that in the past they had said something about read and write hubs. If they're moving to Snap Chain, I don't know if that's still something they're doing, but if they do partition Snap Chains or hubs or whatever, so that most of them are read, I think also hopefully that will make it even easier and cheaper for anyone to ingest Farcaster data, which is the
Okay.
vast majority of what people are doing in most cases. So whether that's you want to make an app, you want to train data, you want to get your own personal data, I think hopefully we'll make that a lot easier to get. But in terms of you're just using Warpcast, I don't think there's going to be an immediate effect other than hopefully the data from Warpcast and other clients syncs a little bit faster because it has like traditional blockchain data resolving mechanisms.
Awesome.
Yeah, so very excited to see this. Kudos if you are working on this, monitoring it, anything like that. But very exciting wherever you are in Farcaster. Another small little thing to call out is they're accelerating even more. It seems like they accepted
Yeah.
2 offers, maybe even on the back end, or it seemed like that's what they've been looking for. So good job, Merkle
Yeah.
Warpcast. They've been killing it with the bull posting on Twitter as well. If you haven't
I
seen, Dan
know.
is
The
their
intern's
marketing
doing
intern.
great. I mean, Dan.
Yeah, whoever the intern is, I know they should give the
It's
intern
Dan.
a raise.
Yeah, the intern needs a raise.
Yeah,
We have
exactly.
actually we have Dan coming on Thursday on GM Farcaster. So yeah, if you have
Mm,
any questions, throw them our way. But that'll be one of our questions for sure. Is can you confirm the identity of the intern on Twitter
I know. You
as
should get
you?
like some super non crossover
Yeah, exactly.
something. Yeah. All right. Well, another thing is last week was the bi-weekly dev call, which goes over some really cool stuff that we haven't shared yet, but we can definitely go over right now because it
Yeah,
was a pretty big one. So the thing that I had said that they were targeting to launch today, which we still could because it's only like 7 a.m. on the West Coast, so you
that's true.
never know, is they are building a wallet. It is
Yeah.
essentially an embedded wallet. We don't know the inner workings. We don't know from a developer standpoint what you can actually access. Although I'd like to think that you can access stuff and that they're going to build this with V2 frames in mind. Probably, like, yeah, that's like one caveat I would give before going into this is if you're a developer, I would highly expect that the thing they're going to do first is just build this into V2 frames instead of giving you some sort of SDK to control the entire wallet because V2 frames is where they want to push you anyways. There's already wallet connections, so we'll just make it easy for them to like pre-populate that wallet somehow. But the idea they were going over is that you'll have this embedded wallet. It will make it really easy to use frames and apps without having to go back and forth. They are doing an internal beta. We even saw some screenshot from Dan's Warpcast where it has the little wallet icon. They
Yeah.
were asking people last week if they wanted to try it out. I don't know if they actually did end up doing that
So
beta.
I can answer that. They have
Oh,
not
okay.
yet because I was
Okay.
in that beta. I said, "Yeah, I'll try it." And
Mm,
I'm in that group chat and it kinda I think something that's why I'm not sure it will launch today because they
okay.
never circled back. I just went back to my group chat just to double check and make sure I didn't miss anything, but they never circled back with any instructions to do some testing. So either something wasn't quite ready or maybe they went a different route for testing. I'm not sure. So
Mm.
that's
That's
the
good
current
alpha.
status of that. Yeah. Yeah,
Good alpha.
so I
Yeah.
was looking forward to testing it out and getting
I
a
know.
little sneak peek, but nothing yet, so I'll
Yeah.
let you
Me
know.
too. Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's out sometime this week, maybe next week.
Yeah,
They also said something about potentially using Warpcast rewards to encourage people to fund the wallet more. Like,
that's
I don't know if
interesting.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll, like, if you're winning a reward, maybe they add a little bit extra or something, if you have it sent to the wallet or you set up your wallet, I don't know, but that's interesting.
I also wonder
Incentives.
from the developer perspective, is there anything like, ooh, so there's certain, like things in the Warpcast UI you can call. I wonder if, like, for example, in a V2 frame can pull up that little modal that like shows you someone else's account. I
Hmm.
wonder
Yeah,
because with the funding, with the rewards, they're trying to like the reason they want to do that is they want those wallets funded so that those wallets can be used by like V2 frame developers. Can you
right.
flip it the other way and give developers rewards for figuring out
Ooh,
mechanisms in their V2
yeah.
frames for funding the wallet?
Probably both, yeah, is my guess. We'll see, though.
Yeah,
That's a good
I think
idea.
that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I could see them even doing, like, a little, mini hackathon or something specifically around that would be a good idea to
yeah,
get
that'd be
people
cool.
playing around with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Cool. So we will see what's going on there, but I think that will be very exciting. It'll be very big news when that comes out. I'm sure everyone will be talking about it on X as well.
For sure.
From the social perspective, there's a couple different things. So, um, we'll just go off this list actually. For the rewards program, it seems like they are increasing the rewards. There's a broader user set last week, and they're trying to kind
Mhm.
of find the right balance. Um, I think for that one, it seems
They
like
made
they'll
some
integrate
I
wallet
guess they
too.
were tweaking the rewards a little bit because they were seeing a lot of these one-time winners, but then they really fall off and trying to figure out how to balance that a little bit, to keep it, keep them going. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that how that works. I
Got
did
it.
notice I am hitting higher numbers today. So, that
Nice.
I was last week, and I don't know if that's due to the switch in the way it's calculating or I am just casting more bangers. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
I don't know which.
The world may never know. I don't
We'll
know.
never know.
Or Warpcast data science team knows. Exactly. Okay, in terms of invites, they're launching free invites to users in the
Ooh,
definitely not spammy category. I forget where, but so they were talking about like reducing sign-up costs, and like one thing I'll talk about is they're basically saying that if they can continue reducing how cheap they get sign-up costs, and if they can continue to monitor the non-bot users, which they're getting a lot better at, then the majority of those non-bot users can essentially be given free accounts, which I think is very exciting. And we personally, I think, know a decent number of people who interact with real people. And I don't think if this happened, there would be an overnight influx, but I think there is this compounding effect where if it did happen, it would really help in many scenarios where you're meeting someone, you're at a conference, whatever the scenario may be, and you really want to onboard that person with
right.
free invites, with channel, with wallet, with all of these built-in Legos. I think that'd be a lot better. So exciting to see where that goes.
Yeah.
Another small one, if you want a Warpcast Q4 grant, they're doing the payouts through GitHub grants or sponsorship. So you should have gotten a
Oh,
direct cast from Varun, and they'll be setting it up this week. We got a very small one for Farhack, so very appreciative of that
yay.
from Warpcast.
Nice.
And then a lot of really, really great projects that deserve it. Got some like Recaster, Bounty Caster, a lot of cool projects. So huge shout out everyone. And
We
then
saw
there's some
that it looked like they like looked at usage as well as being one of the key metrics, and I think that's helpful for sure. I'd love to
yeah,
see maybe even smaller, like I said, like mini hackathons or smaller opportunities to reward those who are experimenting and maybe not getting traction immediately, but maybe giving some encouragement to things that they see that are cool.
yeah.
I think that might be useful too.
For sure, for sure. But overall, like I know like the people who I saw who are at the top, I was like they definitely deserve that, you
Yeah,
know.
for sure. Yeah.
Um yeah, okay, cool. So let's see on the protocol side, the Snap chain, they're doing the testing. That's really exciting. They're reducing signups as we just spoke about. There's some spam detection stuff, and they're working on the storage units, and the Snap chain just gonna like make all of that easier. It's gonna like alleviate a lot of these different problems. So they're doing some early research into turning direct cast into an open protocol, but they did not really talk about that much on the call. So I would assume that that's kind of backlog with everything going on right now. And then they also said some stuff about signing with Farcaster, Farcaster Connect. But again, like that's another thing where moving
Right.
all of that to Snapchain is going to make it easier. And then some stuff with labels. I know that they released the labels for like their spam data set or how they mark spam users. So
Right.
that's really helpful. You
That's
can
helpful.
download this data and see for any FID. And there's this other FIP which I did not read, but I think it's similar. It's about like adding these labels at a protocol level
Oh, interesting.
of spam
Okay.
or not. Um, so I definitely support it. I have to read through this, but I
So
support
that
it.
would allow the other clients to use the same type of spam detection if they wanted to.
Yeah,
Okay,
or to
cool.
like share information like, oh, like Nanar said
Mm,
something like this user is spammy or whatever.
Okay, great. Yep, that's
Yeah,
useful.
definitely. Cool. All right, let's see what else. Oh, I think that's it. But that was a pretty good protocol meeting or overview. I think the wallet is probably the most exciting one or the biggest one, but a lot of cool
I
stuff
do
going
too.
on as always.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be exciting. I'm really looking forward to playing around with it, so I was hoping that we'd, get some access, so hopefully, but I'm really interested to see the mechanics of that. Oh, I think this was the one I tagged you on, wasn't it? Was it this one?
Yes, yeah,
With
yeah, it was this
Simmons?
one.
Yeah, I
Yes,
thought this was
yes,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Because I did not understand what the heck this image was whatsoever, because I figured you would.
It looks like what's going on here is this person like local
Yeah.
computer, like they have a firewall set up on their computer, and then they have like family devices, a home lab. It's like how they're like partitioning the wireless within their house.
Oh, interesting. And then what he was talking about was using DeepSeek to create, this network, like
Yeah.
this, ASCII network diagram, and I just thought
DeepSeek
that
is
was really interesting, that he
have
used
you
that
tried
to
it
do it.
out? DeepSeek?
I haven't, and I know that they put like, DeepSeek is now, in the background for Venice AI. So that to me felt like a safer place to play around with it. So I
Yeah.
haven't tried it yet. How have you?
Yeah.
Have you
Venice and Perplexity both host
Perplexity?
it in the
Okay.
US. I've also tried the non-US hosted one, but I
Living
stopped using
dangerously.
it. Yeah, but it's really good. And also there's some really like sure there's an entire debate over like are all the facts of the headlines true of like how much cheaper it was trained for or whatever, like it's a whole other convo, but there are definitely some really unique like training methods in their white paper that may have gotten them to this point, and the
Right,
reasoning, like when you see I know there's like O1, which is a reasoning model, but that seems to me more of like a summary of what it's doing. Like, okay, I'll do this, then I'll do that. But for some reason, the R1, the DeepSeek reasoning, like seems more like a human would actually be reasoning or laying it out. And it's
right.
quite in depth. Like it will think for like 2.5 minutes sometimes. Um, so it's pretty good and it's quite cheap to use.
So my understanding is that it trained on OpenAI data, but does it in a different way. Like it doesn't train in the same way. It uses inference, and I don't exactly know what that means. But
I think the
if my understanding is that that's the reason it's cheaper because it's just doing it in a different way. Is that am I getting that right at
I
all?
think so. They like distilled the data where you can like take outputs from different models or like take public outputs from the model that aren't against the copyright like licensing. Um, and they like wrote new like they wrote new processes for certain things, like for certain training processes. They wrote the functions in a new way that was like less memory intensive. And then there's like this language called NVIDIA CUDA, and it's like how you interface with the NVIDIA boards for like certain parts of the process. And most everyone just like writes in that language, like a proprietary NVIDIA language. And they wrote around it in C, like writing like bare
Oh,
metal, like how you like talk directly to the chip,
interesting.
allegedly.
Because they don't have access to the NVIDIA chip, right?
Or
Are they
I don't
blocked?
know.
I think that might
Maybe
be
they
why.
do. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
I'm
that
not
might be
sure.
why, because I'm pretty sure so there was some kind of there was a CHIPS Act, but I think it got recalled. But anyway, there was some legal stuff there where they were China was blocked from
Yeah,
certain
There's a
technology.
H100 restriction. Yeah, I mean they
Yeah,
could have also found some sort of way to get around it. There are allegations that maybe they did, or they're
yeah,
using like Singapore as a way to get the chips
could be.
there.
Yeah,
But
that's
definitely a
interesting.
wake up call to U.S. companies, and I
Big
definitely
time.
recommend trying it out on like Perplexity. And I think if anything, it will just push these models. Like ChatGPT just launched their new models, and that
Yeah.
assistant, the new deep research thing looks pretty impressive. that it will
There's
go and research for like 2 hours on your behalf.
Oh, wow. Oh
Yeah.
god, my students are gonna love that. Uh, like, jeez. Nobody's doing
Crazy.
any more work in college. It's awful.
It's crazy.
Um, we need to, like, figure out ways to get that engagement now because, yeah, it's too easy. We're losing critical thinking skills. It's concerning. It's very concerning,
Yeah.
but it's also very exciting, I have to say.
Yeah.
It's exciting to see all this happening right now.
We have a small little hour of critical reasoning that we can
Yeah.
offer to the world here.
Yes, please use your critical thinking skills. We
Exactly.
need to.
Working on it.
They need to
Yes.
be exercised. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, so this isn't a like coder thing or forecaster thing per se, but I was thinking about this, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. So
Sure.
there's StreamYard, there's like all of these different tools, like a Riverside, whatever, for like
Yep.
managing calls that happen over Zoom, whatever. But then I'm watching like All In podcast, and their thing is just a screen recording of Zoom, and you see the little green bubble around the Zoom, whatever. And I'm surprised that with so many people using their webcam and doing online shows and whatever, that there isn't software that is not just transforming it like StreamYard is doing right now, but making it look like we are on television. You know what I mean?
So there's a lot of factors that go into that. And some of it is the tech that you're using to connect with the stream. So, in other words, the camera that you use and the
Mm,
microphone that you use. And a lot of that is what dials into then the stream itself. So, All In is recording, they don't stream live. So that's also makes a big difference. So they can do it via Zoom. They have, editors who make it look fancy, add the intros, outros after the fact, um, and all of that. So little different. Um, I think it depends. Every setup's a little different. The other thing is All In does it all online, but if you look at something like a Joe Rogan, that's going to be more like a traditional TV studio because you're doing it in person. And that is, by the way, much, much harder. It's way harder if you're starting to do a podcast or anything to do it in person. You need much better equipment. Um, Angles are hard, lighting is hard. So all of that is much more difficult. If you're in a studio that's just stays that way, it's a little easier. Like, the way Joe Rogan has his setup, because you set it up once. And if you've got the money, you can, get the best equipment and it's all good. But when you try and do it like on the fly somewhere, it's tough. It's very
yeah.
tough. Like Adrian and I have done this a couple times and the quality is not as good unless you have professional audio video people setting it up. So when we did our podcast at eth12, which we're going to do again, we just don't exactly know when. We're waiting for them to tell us what our slot is.
Yeah.
So like, hey, can you let us know? They had an amazing setup. It's like if you've ever been to eth12, it's a massive conference space, and in one little corner they set up like 3 or 4
All the
podcast
podcasts, right?
studios.
Yeah.
Yeah. And their equipment is phenomenal, and the sound is great, like, you're not picking up a lot of the external sound, it's fantastic, but that's really hard to do. So,
I
I
probably put a lot into that, and they
yeah,
plan East Denver for like an entire year.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
takes, like it's a lot of money too to do that space.
Yeah.
So, it's tough, but yeah, um Zoom is useful if you're just recording. But if you're streaming, then you need something. You either need OBS, which is Open Broadcast System, which is a beast, and I do not recommend it for beginners at all because that's where I started and it sucked for a very long time. Or something like StreamYard, which is amazing, or Riverside. Riverside is also good. I don't like it as much. I like StreamYard better. But yeah, it's so much easier to just be able to jump on here. Within StreamYard, we have our brands. We have different brands, so we can go into different studios, and you have your own brand that you can use. And it just, I think, is a fantastic tool for anybody to be able to use. You don't need like it's not a super high cost. So recommend it.
Yeah.
But interesting, yeah. It's yeah, so a lot of people are doing just like Zoom and in Google Meet and things like that for podcasts, but it just depends on whether or not you're just recording or whether you're streaming.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, good point. Tori just mentioned in the chat, not to mention connectivity issues make guests pixelated. That's another hurdle. Yes, we've often had times where it's been the connection that's been the problem as well. That can be an issue, and it can be an issue on both ends. Like it can be our issue or it can be your issue receiving it. So yeah, there's a lot of pieces to the tech stack that
Yeah.
as I've been doing this for a while, like you really start to understand how just a little thing can make a big difference. Whether that's your background, your lighting, your microphones are huge. Like I've upgraded my mic probably 4 or 5 times since starting the show.
Oh,
So
wow.
now I'm at the top end. We're at the
Nice.
top end. We've got the shore. We've done it. We've moved all the way up. So, but I've got my Yetis and I've got the Logitech. I've got, I could probably line them up a little picture of my evolution over time of
That's
microphones.
good.
Yeah, it's funny. And also,
Yeah.
the other thing is being wired in versus using wireless stuff makes a difference too. So
Mm,
you can use AirPods, but wired in headphones are better. Things
got
like
it.
that because they cause
Good to
less
know. Yeah.
interference. Yeah. So there's all these little tricks that you kind of learn the more you do it. And I really think the 10,000 hours thing is that from Malcolm Gladwell. If you're not familiar, like you become an expert after you've done something for 10,000 hours and, not even close to that level yet with this, but I think it's really just doing it. The more you do it, the more you realize what works and what doesn't, and we're always iterating.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My best small trick so far has been that now the built-in camera with Apple has these backgrounds, so I have this permanent blue background. So whenever I have a messy room or something,
yeah,
it's just consistent. Someone was like, "Why do you have that?" I was like, "It's just good for anything. No weird
yeah.
lighting or anything like that."
And I have a green screen that attaches to my chair.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
so that helps with we always use virtual backgrounds for the same reason, like, don't wanna have to worry about what's in my background. Sometimes my dog's back there, can be distracting, things like that. But also, like, we like to show off different things that are happening on the timeline. So,
Yeah,
most of the time we're pulling a meme or something funny or something pretty, some art or whatever, and putting it as our background. So,
yeah. It's a good addition.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have two more things I could show. One thing I'll show is personal. So I've been still on the
Ooh,
side kind of working on like a Grok
fun.
Perplexity like tool for AI. So I can show it live. I have now Farcaster apps indexed. So I can say like what's Moshi Cam, and it should give us some information here in a second on Moshi Cam, and you can go
And
and view it.
This is Cortex that you've been working on and you've been talking about,
Yes.
yes? Okay,
Yeah.
cool, very cool.
You see like Supercast. So right now it's just like a list, and I might put it out there so other people can submit their apps. But the two things I'm working on are one is like a little profile mode. So almost like my own mini version of agents. So like profiles for different apps or protocols. Like there's
Hmm,
a Farcaster one, Bountycaster, Clanker. And then the second thing is indexing data that is around the protocol but isn't on the protocol. So
ooh,
things like episodes of podcasts for the Hub and GM Farcaster, Farcaster apps and companies, different things that you may be asking for, just to like give it higher priority when you're searching for it, so that like the actual knowledge base of Cortex is like very centered on things you want to know about Farcaster.
love it.
Or you could even ask something like, how do I get started on Farcaster? And it should be able to like not just answer that via casts, but via like actual rooted information, you know?
Love it. I wish Adrienne was here to talk about this part and
I
her
know.
bot. She's been
I
working
know we
hard
have
on
to
the
see if
bot.
there's some sort of collab there where maybe
Yeah,
I could like tag the bot here or something.
yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I wanted to show was a very cool company, got acquired by Coinbase. Shout out Spindle,
Yeah.
which it was building like on-chain ads network. And I know Antonio was building, he was like kickstarting ads at Facebook. Base in particular has made a couple different acquisitions recently, and Jesse made this cool video on it. I can find in the show notes on like how they're bringing all these teams together to kind of just like have this super team for Base. And I can vouch and say that like all the teams I've seen them acquire have really great builders, and so um, cool to see this, and congrats. It's always a good moment. I remember I was actually interning at a VC firm at the time, Chapter One, that was leading the seed round for Spindle when they
Ooh,
were first coming out. So it's fun to see all the way from seed to acquisition.
amazing. Yeah. It was fun to see, there was an alert that popped up. There's a new alert when somebody casts for the first time in a while,
Yes,
and
I
I
like
did
that.
see
Yeah,
Antonio was in there. He
yeah,
was one of the ones that was like, hasn't casted in a while, and
that's
it was about
cool.
this. Yeah, so it was cool to
I
see.
know. Without
Very cool.
any shade to those people, I almost want a
Not at
second
all.
notification that tells
Yeah.
me, are they going to cast again, sort of thing. Or like, hey, like we told you this person casted again in a while, and then we haven't seen them in 6 months. Sorry. Our bad.
Or like maybe something that pokes them and been like, "Hey,
Yeah.
remember when you casted last week? A lot of people like that. You should do that again."
Yeah. Oh, that's like the intern notifications from the intern. Hey, intern here.
Yeah.
We saw you a
Intern
week
here.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd actually
Exactly.
be not bad.
That's actually a really good idea.
Dan, if you're listening,
Dan,
billion
we have
dollar
an idea
idea.
for you. Bug your
Yes.
fr bug your friends who haven't casted in a while,
I know.
with
That's a good
notifications.
one.
There we go.
Yeah.
Love it. Um,
All right. Well,
Tori
thank
had
you
some
so much. Oh,
Tori has some
sorry.
questions in the chat. If you,
Yes.
I don't know about this. Can we index onboarding data? I'd love to help you with some spam label issues. So there you go. Um,
Good
and
question. I don't
and
know about
Spindle is a ad serving network, right? So no,
yes.
they're not necessarily putting you into a site trans. So
Yeah, if I understand correctly, I think it's like how everything that happens for you to get to a transaction in Web3, like all of the like I don't think it's like on-chain ads in this or like on-chain in the sense of that it's like you interacted with this contract, then that, and then this router or something. I think it's more so what are like the Web2 steps you're getting to the Web3 action. Like I clicked the link on Twitter, I went to a website, and then I purchase this NFT or whatever. And they're probably just doing that through like good old link tracking.
mhm,
Um, but I never actually used the product. That's kind of just what I saw. But I know Antonio's been like doing this forever, so I trust him. And
cool.
then in terms of the onboarding data,
Yeah.
I think the labels that they published are labels on a per user basis. I don't think it's onboarding. I know separately they have this new onboarding flow where you choose categories and it recommends channels, but I don't fully know how that works. And I don't think any of that data is public. So in terms of onboarding, what you could do is you could check for new users from that list. I don't know how often they're updating it. So if anything, I think maybe a more helpful place would be seeing like, are there discrepancies in the labeling, or is there a different type
Mm,
of labeling or another labeling source? Like I think another thing they're looking for is other people can offer their own version of the labeling if it follows the same format. Like Warpcast can keep their own record of what they believe Maynard can other people, and they can all check others, and they can all be of this same type. So you could definitely check that out as well.
love it. Awesome.
Cool.
All
All
right.
right. Well, this has been a really great episode. Thank you again, Nanish Prof, for joining me here. Thank you to
Thanks for
everyone
having
who
me.
is joining us in chat, of course. And have a great rest of your Tuesday. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you. See ya.